So welcome back to Thruxton. We move on with the Quaife Radical Club Cup and the first of two races for them this weekend. Lining up on pole position is number 7, Darren Luke, that black car with a white stripe down the centre alongside the red car of Colin Miller. A very good start from both front row men. There's a couple of cars really struggling to get off the line. One of them, I think, is David Jacobs. We ride on board with Gary Baxter. He's at the wheel of one of the Radical SR3s with the 1300cc Suzuki engine that powers those. As up towards the complex for the first time they come. Darren Luke leads. It's Stephen Lindsay who's there in second position. A rocket of a start from him. He came off the third row of the grid. And another car that's trying to carve his way through the field there is number 26. That is the car of Mark Boot, who had a terrible qualifying session, down in 18th position. We ride on board with Simon Fish, who certainly didn't flounder off the start. Up towards Noble, then on towards Goodwood he goes. The Radicals very, very quick around the Thruxton circuit, a quick circuit anyway, but such is the downforce that these cars produce and their straight line speed. They really are travelling some on the rear sections of the circuit, out at Village and Church Corner, which is where our race leader Darren Luke is coming now. He's only on half championship points, such are the number of starters in his class. He leads the championship coming into this weekend, but he's got the invitation class car of Stephen Lindsay not that far away. Lindsay closes as they come onto the brakes for the club chicane for the first time. The field slowly filing their way through in neat and tidy order through the club chicane. Number 4 just heading through there. That is the Pro Sport class car of Mark Abbott, the ex-Jonathan Wright car from last year. But Darren Luke, who is leading the race, is still watching his mirrors. There is number 1, the reigning champion Colin Miller, just going through, the 42-year-old from Ballymena in Northern Ireland. We ride on board with Gary Baxter. He's down towards the bottom of the top 10 currently. See the trade of cars that he's trying to squeeze his way through as and when the opportunity opens up ahead of him. An opportunity to hit the lead of the race is opening up for Stephen Lindsay. Darren Luke goes a little bit defensive on the run in towards the club chicane. He still hangs on to the lead of the race. Stephen Lindsay there in second, then the red car of Colin Miller in third, with Chris Hillaby, number 24, sitting now in fourth place. Look at the queue that is appearing behind Simon Fish. This train of cars, number 56 going through, is a new driver for this weekend, David Jacobs, the former Carter and Porsche racer. So here comes the lead trio once more. There is number 1, the reigning champion. You can see just how busy the rest of the circuit is. David Jacobs up the inside of Mark Abbott. He's made it through number 56. Ahead of Mark Abbott. It's Mark Abbott that now sits directly ahead of us as David Jacobs spins. Just as he manages to gain the position, he loses the car and spins, heading through the middle part of the complex, the Cobb corner, the left-hander. The car facing 180 degrees to the circuit. It's actually still on the track as well. The marshals will have to be very brave to go out there and give that car the push it clearly needs at the moment. We ride on board with Simon Fish, driver we've seen sporadically in the 2010 Quaife Radical Club Cup, as Stephen Lindsay is starting to mount a challenge for the lead of the race once more. The white car with the darker centre stripe up the inside of Darren Luke on the approach to the club chicane. He carries a bit too much speed in, however, spins. Darren Luke goes across the curb. Stephen Lindsay spins to the outside. Colin Miller, who was in third, is going to go through and surely take the lead of the race. Stephen Lindsay now, of course, has to wait for the train of cars to make its way through the club chicane before he is able to restart and rejoin the circuit. Right on board with Simon Fish once more. He's got Steve Burgess in the slightly lighter blue car trying to draw his way alongside. Steve Burgess, the man from Nottingham. There's just, I think, the slightest of contact between the two of them as they turn in towards the club chicane, but Steve Burgess, who became a father earlier on this year, has made it through and grasped the position. So Simon Fish loses one place, in danger of losing another because Nigel Place is coming through. So Nigel Place in the Pro Sport class car is sitting right alongside number 20. There they head in towards the complex and still remain side by side through Campbell. By the time they get to Cobb, Simon Fish has retaken the position once more. So Nigel Place still sitting just outside of the top 6 positions as we ride on board with Gary Baxter, the second of our 2 camera cars that we have. Let's have a look at the replay of the spin of David Jacobs up the inside of Mark Abbott. Gains the place on the way into Campbell. By the time they get to Cobb Corner, he puts the throttle on just a little bit too early, loses the tail end of the car, which spins harmlessly through 180 degrees, but frustratingly for David Jacobs, puts him well down the order. And here is race leader Colin Miller heading out of the club chicane. You can see the gap between himself and Darren Luke, who currently sits in second position. We're on board with Simon Fish, who loses one place to Rachel Davis. There goes Darcy Smith as well. So he's losing places hand over fist currently. Doesn't sound as though the car is particularly ailing, but as they come around through Brooklands and up Woodham Hill, through goes the second of our camera cars, Gary Baxter one side. There is the recovering Stephen Lindsay, car number 59, also trying to squeeze his way through on the left-hand side on the approach to the club chicane. So Simon Fish losing for the best part of 4 or 5 places in a single lap. He's outside of the top 12 now. On board with Gary Baxter. He's got the 20-year-old lady racer from Evesham directly ahead of him, that being Rachel Davies. There is number 5, Rachel Davies. You can see just how busy a circuit it still is. Number 33, Craig Curry, tries to get up the inside of somebody, manages to spin at the complex. Of course, we saw Craig Curry out in the Dunlop Sport Max Production Cup. He'll fire the SR3 back into life and continue around the circuit, but time and positions lost for Craig Curry there. Up towards the complex comes Nigel Place. There is number 74. That is James Abbott, son of Radical co-founder Phil Abbott, fighting away with, well, no relation, Mark Abbott. As once more we are on board with Simon Fish. The rest of the battle's continuing down through the field. And Gary Baxter, our onboard camera car, is very much at the heart of one of those fights. Darcy Smith directly ahead of him. He's got Rachel Davis and Stephen Lindsay directly behind him. Up towards the complex, the quartet of cars come. Make their way through Cobb and then on towards Seagrave once more. But our race leader, Colin Miller, is coming up towards the club chicane for the final time. He's got number 13, the 1100cc Club Sport of Simon Garmston ahead of him. As he charges towards the checkered flag, Colin Miller is going to claim victory in the first of our Quaife Radical Club Cup races here at Thruxton. Simon Fish, who is continuing to drop away from those around, is really struggling and is going to finish surely outside of the top 12. Here come the rest of the cars fighting their way through. James Abbott, number 74, just going through. He'll finish in 5th position, ultimately just ahead of Mark Abbott. Looking for where the rest of the battles are going on. Car number 95, Richard Stables, is fighting away in 8th position with Darcy Smith and Gary Baxter, who all head over the start-finish line with Rachel Davis not that far away. Colin Miller ultimately claims the honours from Darren Luke in 2nd position. Steve Burgess and Richard Carver 3rd and 4th, with James Abbott and Mark Abbott completing the top 6.
Colin, an entertaining race on the fastest circuit in the UK.
Yes, first time ever here, so taking away with the first wins, excellent. Darren and the other fella in front there, they made a bit of a mistake getting into the chicane in 2nd, 3rd lap, so I seized the opportunity and I think I pulled a bit of a gap from there onwards, so yeah, pretty good.
That second half of the race, was it a case of looking in your mirrors and making sure you're keeping that gap?
Yeah, pretty much. I was able to get a comfortable gap there and just managed to maintain that. Wasn't really pushed too hard, trying to protect the tyres for the second race as well, so we'll see how it goes.
Darren, it may not have been an overall victory today, but still another class victory.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing. Obviously, I'd like to keep winning overall, but you obviously struggled a little bit relative to the SR3s around the super fast section. It's really difficult to have 2 feet on the throttle at the same time to stop yourself lifting, you know, but just about does it, but just a little bit quick. I think I would have struggled to catch up with Carly, but a back marker got in the way and thought it'd be fun to stay there. Yeah, it sort of ruined it really, but I would have probably struggled, to be fair. It was just a bit quicker, so as good as I could expect, I think.
So the second of our Quaife Radical Club Cup race is about to get underway. You can see the blustery conditions here at Thruxton, with Colin Miller and Darren Luke sitting there on the front row of the grid. Steve Burgess and Richard Carver on the second row of the grid. Steve Burgess in the light blue collars, creeping further back down through the order. The lights go out and a great start from Darren Luke from the outside of the front row of the grid. A terrible start from pole sitter Colin Miller. We're on board with Simon Fish once more. He's going side by side with Rachel Davis. So there's Darcy Smith directly ahead of him as well. You can see just how close it is in the midfield pack as they head up towards the complex for the first time. There is number 1, Colin Miller. Terrible start from him from the pole position. Everybody's safely through the first few twists and turns, or are they? No, there's a spin by the look of things for David Jacobs once more. A spin for him in the first race at the complex, a spin for him early on in the second race at the complex, but it is Darren Luke that leads. Then the black car with the gold stripe, number 4 of Mark Abbott, that sits there in second position. Go on board with Simon Fish, still fighting away with Rachel Davis. They're side by side coming up towards the club chicane. Davis, his 20-year-old from Evesham, makes it through. So the train of cars, including car number 24, Chris Hillaby, a front runner who started at the very rear of the field and is making very good progress in the early stages. That looks like the car of Craig Curry, so Craig Curry into retirement. There is number 1, who is now making up amends for that shoddy start from Colin Miller. He's through and past Mark Abbott. Right on board with Gary Baxter, with Ray Woolhead, the driver from Holmfirth in his first season of motorsport, just managing to gain a position. Gary Baxter will now find himself down towards the bottom of the top 12 as into the pit lane comes number 56, David Jacobs, following his spin up at the complex earlier on. The works car comes into position down in the pit lane. A quick chat to the pit crew and a spin for Simon Fish. There's further action happening around the circuit. Simon Fish wasn't on his own in that one. He's going to rejoin the circuit, but it's all happening out there. Here's the fight that's going on between Mark Abbott and number 15, Richard Carver, who's having a very, very good weekend so far this weekend at Thruxton. You can see also number 5, Rachel Davis, still fighting away. She's trying to draw herself alongside number 95, that being the hotelier from Ross, Richard Stables. Gary Baxter trying to hunt down those around him. Here's the fight for 3rd and 4th position. The black car with the gold stripe, number 4, Mark Abbott, still fighting away with Richard Carver. You can see ahead of them up the road is the red car of Colin Miller and then race leader Darren Luke. And there is Gary Baxter. Sits directly ahead of him at the moment is Ray Woolhead. Sitting directly behind him is Mark Boot, and here the battle is very much on for that 3rd and 4th place. Richard Carver trying to rally outside of Mark Abbott. He's made it stick as well, so Richard Carver in the 1500cc Suzuki-powered SR3 goes ahead of the PR6 in the hands of Mark Abbott, as we see a replay of exactly what happened to Simon Fish. Round through the fast sections of the circuit, loses the rear end of the car. I think in order to avoid contact, the car behind had to spin in sympathy. Simon Fish, right out at the fast section at Goodwood and Village, gathers up the moment and rejoins the circuit, but a very scary ride. The back marker Lapri also now commencing as well. Number 11, which is Ian Charles in his Radical Club Sport, is being put a lap down by those faster cars around him. As up towards Allard Corner they make their way. You can see the clouds in the sky here at Thruxton. We've seen spots of rain already. For the moment, it's staying dry for the Radicals. As Mark Abbott, in 3rd place, puts a lap on Simon Garmston, number 13. He's the battle for the lead of the race, with this time Darren Luke coming under a whole host of pressure from Colin Miller, who dives up the inside. So Colin Miller, it's taken him a long time to recover from that poor start, but he's now taken the lead of the race. The man from Northern Ireland, the 2007 Formula Libra champion, manages to take the lead of the race from Darren Luke, who now drops down into 2nd position, the 2008 Bike Sports champion. Coming up against number 20, which is Simon Fish. Such as his problems mean he is very shortly about to go a lap down. Colin Miller is going to have to work very hard. Darren Luke will not give him any let-up at all, the 38-year-old from Droit, which will keep the race leader honest as they pick their way out of Seagrave and head up towards Noble once more. Here comes the fight further down through the order. Number 59, the man from Tenby in South Wales, Stephen Lindsay, fighting away with the car ahead of him, the red car in the hands of Rachel Davies. As we now ride on board with Simon Fish, race leaders bearing down on Simon Fish, who sees them coming and allows Colin Miller to go through at unabated speed. We haven't had Darren Luke. There goes Darren Luke now through and ahead of Simon Fish. Up towards the club chicane for the final time comes Colin Miller. He is on full championship points this weekend, so he should, with 2 victories, retake the lead of the championship with a couple of rounds still to go. Through goes the man from Northern Ireland. He claims honours. Darren Luke chases him all the way in 2nd place. Here is Simon Fish, who is going to finish a long way down through the order and a lap down on the race leaders. Here comes the fight for 2nd and 3rd position in the Club Sport class. Number 13, Simon Garmston, will secure 2nd position in Club Sport, only just, however, ahead of the light green car of Ian Charles. So Colin Miller takes his 2nd victory of the weekend from Darren Luke in 2nd, and Steve Burgess completes the top 3.
Colin, clearly you were the fastest man out on the circuit this afternoon, taking a convincing victory there. Okay, some pressure at the end, but was that just pacing yourself?
Yeah, well, I didn't get a very good start, which has sort of been the routine all season long. But I thought, right, okay, I'll just get myself into the groove here and start and reel Darren in. I seen he was having a few problems around the complex, and right enough towards the end, I was having a few slides myself, but kept the pressure on him and I managed to get him down the back.
Darcy, a very enjoyable weekend, and you've come out with 2 class victories in the end there.
I have, yeah. I haven't raced at Thruxton before. We didn't test here yesterday. We just came here and decided to give it a go, and I've been very, very pleased to get two invitation wins. Very good.
And also, you were right in the thick of things and battling with some of the more experienced drivers around you.
I really was, yeah. We've had a really, really good weekend. Car's gone very well. It's only the 3rd and 4th race I've done in that car. I bought it new a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it's been thoroughly enjoyable. Very good.
So our class leaders at the moment, Colin Miller leads the Super Sports class, Darren Luke leads the Pro Sport class, and then we see Andy Harwood and Stephen Lindsay leading their respective classes.